All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Oregairu, Season 2, Episode 9. We got something genuine.
Something genuine. Yeah.
Oh my god.
This episode has been a long time coming.
Oh.
And, oh boy. Oh boy. Last episode was a long time coming, right? But now we're in the end game now. Like,
no,
we're in the new game,
in the mid game now.
Yeah, right. Like, we've gotten past the prologue and the starting line. Like,
it's like
it took a while, but we're here.
It's so powerful because there's a lot of characters in this story that have problems, right?
Yes.
And everyone in some facet in this show is hiding a part of themselves.
Right. Me? I don't have a problem. Oh, okay. Denial.
Denial. Yeah. So in this case with Hachiman, he shared his problem. He shared his problem.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And
his desire.
And it wasn't just it wasn't just his problem. It was what he wanted out of these out of this club, out of his relationship with these two girls, and now they know, and it's gonna take time to kind
figure out what that means,
right? But also to build good patterns with regards to these relationships.
Totally.
But the thing is that there's a lot of characters in this story. There's a lot of characters that also have problems, but might not be willing to share them. So right now, Hachiman, Yui, and Yukino can start to build, from zero, if you will. And I really feel like that like just that there's so much after this. This is like when the character makes the love confession, and it's not the end of the story,
Right, exactly. because this is the love confession that is not the romantic love confession.
It's the self-love confession.
It's the self-love confession. Yeah. It's the love of friendship and true camaraderie and connection. That confession, right? And then now that that's been made, then progress can be made with the relationship between the two of them, and then eventually we can actually get to the romance side of things
later.
I'm guessing that's what season 3 is going to be about. But Oh boy.
Man.
It feels good to be here.
It feels so good. Yeah. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below. Then come back here for the discussion. Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
All right. I love it.
This show is fantastic. We got a nice broad sweep of all the characters.
We did.
A lot of the characters did not get like super in-depth focus.
Yeah.
But we were able to give enough of them little moments of deep focus, especially with the main trio.
And that's what's most important.
And that's what's most important here, given that they just had their big moment in the Service Club in the last episode.
Oh boy.
But also by them going to Destiny Land and, going on Universe Mountain and all this stuff, they get to be put into environments where they can practice casually the things that they discussed and brought up in the previous episode.
Having something genuine.
And Hiratsuka was amazing at helping to facilitate this, because she doesn't know exactly what's going on, but she is a smart adult who can look at them as a group and realize, wait a minute,
she's been around the block.
Something's a little bit better here. I'm gonna offer these and see what they what they do with this.
In many ways, Hiratsuka is like the parent whose suffering goes unnoticed and unappreciated in all the times that she had to put up with at the wedding after party of, you can go twice by yourself, and being told that twice. Yeah. All right. Just stay strong, Hiratsuka.
Got this.
Stay strong. But your suffering is helping these kids.
Yeah.
So,
and
there's purpose to it.
Komachi, the goat, channeling her brother's voice and giving him back his own kind of typical, bullshit and condescending, somewhat accurate statements and stuff.
Right,
as
but
well.
Just because you're correct doesn't mean you're right.
Right. I love besides, how can you call something that's so easy to change an identity? I was just like,
she does not let up.
Alive.
Yeah, it very much, so okay. there's people that you're friends with, and then there's people that you're really good friends with, you know, or best friends with, or there's people that you're friends with, and then there's family, right?
Right.
And this is one of the most family things in my mind is when it's the, okay, you see someone, you know, and they're in a particular way, something's off, whatever, right? But you know them well enough to know that it's not actually like a serious bad thing, right? Like it's a part of the process of whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
And so you can be a bit callous with them. You can poke fun at them a little bit, you know. And of course, because, well, your family, anytime you see an opportunity, you have to take it, you know.
Yeah. The main thing that I feel like you set us up perfectly with this discussion to bookend this episode with is that at the end of this little encounter with Komachi, she brings it all back together by saying, I like you the way you are.
Right.
And that's the thing that separates her from the Haruno Yukino situation.
Yes.
Because Haruno did the exact same thing in a way when they would go to Destiny Land together and, you know, messed around with her there. And she never forgave Haruno for that.
Because it's a trust thing. You need to have that really strong bond of trust so that way you know that if they're doing something like that, they really do care about you, and this is not them walking all over you or anything like that.
Yeah, totally. And there is a very definite bias from Yukino with regards to how she sees Haruno.
Right.
So
because past experiences, trust is, you know, it takes a long time to build and is very easily broken.
Yeah, but as of right now, that is the earliest past experience we have with, you know,
Haruno
and Yukino that's
been brought up.
To us.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that this is, you know, something that is still being, you know, interpreted.
Right.
Because there's not good communication between the two of them.
Because well, and also, Komachi is precious and wonderful, but let's be real here. It's rare for the younger you are, the lower your wisdom score is, right? And the more likely...
Because you have less experience.
Because you have less experience, right?
Or like wisdom max potential.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
you can have a decent wisdom score.
It tends to be lower, right? And if it's higher then well, good job. It's probably going to get even
in the rough.
Right, and it's probably going to get even higher as you go on in life, right?
It's true.
But the kinds of things that siblings do to each other when they're especially young, it can get real nasty, right? Like it can get crazy.
Yeah.
Now, in this
they're not mature enough to communicate how they feel about some of those things.
And especially when it's in an older sibling to a younger sibling dynamic, it can get even crazier because there can be a lot of that, you know, the younger sibling that looks up to the older and then that's spurned. Whereas in the case of Komachi, she's younger, you know, like her brother, she knows her brother can dish it, you know, right? So if she
dishes it back
and at an opportune time,
right,
that's okay, you know.
Yeah, to be fair, it's also the thing of where we have better perspective on these two's relationship as well, because Hachiman's the main character and we get a lot of internal focus into his mental state. Thus we can tell that he's doing okay here.
Right.
This is just something of his own growing pains being put on display. And in a funny kind of way here, the fact that this was almost involuntary, and the fact that he kind of created that noise, might have been even a subconscious, like, I would like to talk to you, but I don't know how to get you over here. But I know if I make a bunch of noise, you'll come over here.
So I could totally see that being the case, and I love that headcanon.
Yeah, it's a headcanon.
Right. Yeah. But I love it. I think that's fantastic. One of the other things though that was just a general like emotional response that I got from Hachiman in that whole situation was relief, because
because what he has with her is genuine.
Well, what he has with her is genuine, but even before that, when he's like, oh my God, I just want to die right now. Like, why did I say something so embarrassing, right?
Right.
That's the kind of thing that Hachiman never let himself do, because he took himself way too fucking seriously. And that's one of the biggest issues that I think happens when you're young, is that everything is the end of the world, right? Everything is the end of the world, because... And
no concept of time, or this too shall pass.
Right. Just chill. Chill. It's not that big of a deal.
You got this, bro.
You got this, bro.
Yeah.
You're also not that important. So just relax.
Right. It's the whole thing that Komachi brought up with regards to identity, in that people who, freak out over identity stuff are probably the ones that have no identity at all, or having all the
God.
Yeah, people who keep talking about identities tend to be the ones without an identity of their own.
Like that was such a good impression of Hachiman.
Yeah.
I was a bit disturbed, like seeing Komachi say that. I was like, wait, what?
Because it's one of those things where you're like, that's true, and then it's also the thing of where you're like, oh, that's harsh.
Well, yeah, like that is such a jaded perspective. Like that is like, and not jaded like with any like, this might come across as dismissive, but jaded that only comes from like comes from the smaller past experiences, like where it's the okay, and then you obsess over it and things like that, and it's like, okay, no, learn to take things on the chin, learn to like take it in stride and roll with the punches and things like that. So the fact that Komachi is basically just sort of being a mirror for Hachiman here, I love it. I love it. And then of course she knows to then be like, okay, but I care about you and all of that, the salve with the the needles,
Yeah.
Since she was kind of being Harino-ish there.
Yeah, but that's all within their relationship. So
Yep.
Hachiman goes back to the club. He makes it there before Yui.
And oh my God, I love the awkward tension here.
Yeah. Do you know why he's there before Yui though? Right?
Because he didn't wait for Yui to go there with her.
He didn't wait for her. Not only that, I think he knows, because Yui's the social butterfly, that he's going to then get the opportunity potentially to see Yukino without Yui there.
Sure, that way he can get like a true litmus test of the situation, because the response that she had in the previous episode was a strong one.
Yes.
and it was very much a responsive thing of, okay, this is a lot that's happening right now, and so it makes sense that he would want to be like, what's the sitch,
And multiple times as he goes to sit down there, he's basically like throwing eyes her way, like, are we good?
Testing the waters.
Like, just like, yeah. It's that observational Hachi,
God damn it.
where he's basically...
I could feel that coming from a mile away.
It's basically something where he's trying to see if he's if he needs to do something here.
Right.
And thus he kind of falls back into the old patterns of, I hope this is okay, I hope this is something that's good here. And then she has her like
and then she breaks the silence with something, and I love how it's like, okay, this so feels like something that I would do back when I was like long time ago, when there's someone I care about a lot, but I don't know how to. I'm too emotionally compromised to do the chit chat thing, so I end up consciously trying way too hard, consciously thinking of something to say, and I say it, and then after I say it, I realize, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
This was so relatable, right?
Mind if I just do it after Yui Gahama gets here? And it's like, right,
of course.
So des ne. Yes.
Okay.
That
I'll shut up now.
That does make sense, right? No need to do it twice. That's a good point.
And then the introverts have their
moment of like mutual silence.
Right. Because then the Yahalo energy enters the room, and it's just like,
right.
Okay, yeah,
yes,
right. And the fact that she. And this was one of the most precious things of the whole episode. Just scoots in so close.
Yep.
Okay, so for those of you out there in the YouTube comments or what have you, there's this thing called the love languages. It's a little bit archaic, but because everyone needs all kinds of love constantly. It's a thing where, we're human beings, and you can't just classify things into categories and what have you.
It's a simplification.
Yeah, it's a simplification.
But there's ways that it's helpful.
Yeah, there's ways that it's helpful in understanding which types of ways of expressing your love are most easily received by certain people. Like, some people don't like to be hugged as much as others. Some people really like it when you do other things for them as like a gift or as like an act of service. In this case here, Yuigahama wants
Physical
to
proximity.
hug Yukino and just be so close to her right now, and you can just feel the introvert, like, Yukino's just like, no, I'm good,
hold on.
thank you, no, thank you, okay.
I mean, I do really care about you and stuff, but don't smother me, you know.
Room. Yeah, don't smother me, exactly. And then her, like, immediate, like, okay, moves like 3 centimeters away, and it's just like, oh my god, that was beautiful.
So good. Like,
that was beautiful.
So okay, the actual like plot stuff that happened this episode, excellent. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Hands down, I think my favorite parts from this episode, and this is something that the studio also helps bring to life really well with all the extra character animation.
Yeah.
Is all just the little intricacies of how these characters move to help us see
what they're feeling.
Crystal clear how they're feeling, right? Yeah. And I love it. And this is an example, I would say, because so each character, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, right? And as a result of that, there are ways in which they'll interact with the other characters in the show, because they're well written, especially for the main three, that are healthy and unhealthy, right? And it can vary based on circumstances and things like that.
Totally.
And Yui, we've constantly or often, and I think you even more so than me, have talked about her as being kind of the glue of the group, right?
Yeah.
And that can
it's one of her strengths.
It's one of her strengths. Now, that strength misapplied can be a problem, because then if she's
very much
if it's something where then
she's forcing something,
or not letting, or you know, making too comfortable of an environment so that they don't have to put in the effort in order to have themselves stay connected with each other, then great. However, in the positive sense of things, she is a translator, right? She is the okay, like I am the intermediary. I can come in here, and when you guys are having your, you know, like, introvert silence of sort of like, you know, sussing out the landscape and at the same time acknowledging each other and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then I come in and I'm like, hi, this is great. Like,
It is something, though, of where she sometimes needs to learn when to back off a little bit.
Oh, totally.
And just be like, hey, this is great. Yeah, but don't feel the need to force anything. Yep. And then, of course, once she backs off, like, her 3 centimeters, Yukino's like, oh, wait, I didn't mean anything by it.
Right.
Like, oh, no, I've hurt the precious little pink one.
Yep,
No, do not feel bad things, my child. I'm sorry.
Right.
But, also, little just goofy things where it's like, now that they're up to speed on some of the way things have been going with Hachiman and Iroha's situation.
Handing the bag, like, just holding it out for him.
Holding it out there and him just taking it. And the way they each have their own different responses.
Yui's like surprised, and Yukino's like,
Yeah, like, Yukino has this like
it very much feels like the Kaguya season 2 meme of Shirogane's sister with the, oh, you know, you say something totally reasonable. You know,
but I love also that they each give different responses here. Freaking Yukino does the whole I look off to the side, nothing. But then full on, like, Yui has to be like both hands up. No, yeah, it's nothing.
It's all good. Yeah.
And then him just like, like I can feel your judging.
Yeah, you're not tricking anyone here.
Right. And oh my god, I cannot believe they denied us
the joy
of all the intricacies of what would happen if they met the planning committee. They're like, you know, they're like.
Now, to be fair, there was a lot of stuff that they had to get through this episode, right? So that does make a lot of sense.
But I wanted Yukino to like snap a pencil.
Yeah, I wanted to see like the vein popping thing, you know. You know, like, oh, that would have been so good. Also, this was the other reason why I wanted to see it, is because there was another particular person that would have been in that meeting. Now,
Kaori.
Yeah. And while obviously the plus one person that Iroha would bring along would be Hayama.
Yes.
There was this.
You thought it was going to be Kaori?
So for a split second, not in the like Kaori actually has any reason to Iroha has any reason to bring along Kaori. To invite her. But that if the worst possible way that it could go would be if she was brought along for some reason. So I was like trying to think like, wait, no, there's no reason she would do that, right? Unless it was like as a kind of thing to like throw like wrenches into the gears of what's going on with Yukino and Yui and Hayama or Hachiman, basically. But thankfully that didn't happen. But eventually they do need to interact at some point, and that's going to be complicated.
I got you, but she's not really in this episode.
Yes, so that's true. So keeping it to this episode.
Yeah. With Hiratsuka setting them up, and of course Hachiman cannot bear to look at her in this
Someone
state.
marry her already.
Yeah. I might even have to tag along for the 6th time.
Right.
I do find something that's a bit of a stereotype. Just because you go to Destiny Land alone doesn't make you a spinster,
right.
lonely.
Yep. It is funny though, because with the whole idea of Destinyland basically being just, okay, it might not be Disneyland, maybe there is an actual Disneyland, but I mean, come on.
It's
right?
Disneyland,
yeah.
It's like the panda is basically Mickey Mouse, but it's just,
Right. And I've known coworkers that would be like, "Oh, yeah. I have a season pass. I go all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to a university in California specifically just so that I can be near Disneyland.
Yeah, so you can walk there.
So I can just walk there on the weekend.
Uber,
yeah, exactly. And just take my books there and study or whatever, right? It's so this felt very much like, oh yeah, I know this. I know this experience.
Yeah. All right, so the whole trip, there's a couple little intricate things that's going on here. There are people that are going for different reasons, and I like that some of the people involved here are not excited about going here for the same reasons, meaning there are specific things that they could want out of this, but not all the same thing here. So Yui sees basically the opportunity for the group to all go together, and it could help build them. So, of course, she's excited about this. Right. And also the Christmassy aspect of it as well.
Exactly.
Hachiman is actually one of the most negative ones about it, specifically that it's going to be very crowded.
Right. It's a very technical kind of reason of, hey, this is probably one of the worst times to go.
We're going to spend more times in line. We're going to have a lot of basically awkward kind of stress regarding the whole thing.
It's going to Costco on the weekend. Just avoid it if you can.
Just don't do it. Yeah. But Iroha, she wants to set up a romantic potential moment here. Now, this is a convenient thing because Yukino has a season's pass to this.
Right.
She initially doesn't want to go and kind of echoes Hachiman's sentiment, but doesn't give the reason as to why initially.
I want to put out a theory as to why.
Yeah.
Is that because she loves the pandas so much?
Yeah.
And she knows how she gets around them. She takes it very seriously.
And she doesn't want to show that to other people?
She doesn't want other people necessarily to see her just be like, look at these. Which one do you think Komachi would like? I mean, I have like 4 here, but like, which one do you think she'd like the most, So that's my little headcanon theory.
Yeah, I also think that one of the things that might be happening here is this might be happening too quickly for Yukino.
Oh,
is that this whole process of, let's instantly all go do things as best friends would.
After it was just a thing of, Hachiman, please don't come to the club anymore.
Right. It's a thing of where she's like, I don't want to hold the group back, but I also am not like, I'm not like gung-ho about this.
Which does support what happens in her interaction with Hachiman at the end of the episode with her being so reserved. It's like
I'm going to share part of this.
But there's still hesitation.
There's steps that she needs to take. But Hachiman remembers the point where she was freaking out about the pandas back, I think it was in the beginning of season 2 when that happened.
Maybe? Yeah, I can't remember.
They even brought up the whole thing with when he was doing the little crane, like, kind of catch thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think there might have been pandas from there even in the thing. We'll have to go back and check in this episode to see what the image is. But he uses the merch thing as like hey, I'm sure there'll be a Christmas edition of Pan the Panda at least. And then immediately Yukino's like, okay, well, I guess. And he does even give the whole, I want to get something like that for Komachi's present.
Right.
So he's giving
excellent
her 2
deflection.
reasons.
Right. It's the I know you don't want to go because after all, you don't care about pandas and stuff. That's childish, right? Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
But
and then
my sister is really into it.
Hiratsuka notices this. Yui, I would say, at the very least, realizes, oh, that's a good point. I can use this. And then she tugs on Yukino, like, come on, let's go get something for her together. And then she's like, well, in that case, I guess
we'll have to go.
Yeah. What's really precious about this is if you remember back to season 1, Yui really wanted to be friends with Yukino. That was one of the things that she really, really wanted.
Right.
And it didn't seem like it was possible for her all the way back then because of Yukino's, well, she's kind of like an ice queen, if you would. Very, very difficult to get close to.
Yep.
So any opportunity that she can get to kind of make that connection a bit stronger or a bit closer, she's going to jump on it. And she's going to be the one to take the first step.
Also, something I want to point out here, as just it's not a big thing, but just a little thing to point out.
Yeah.
By Hachiman saying, oh, I want to get Komachi one as a present, not only is he giving Yukino the option of basically, hey, you don't have to be going for yourself, but specifically, will you help me?
Yes.
And it's not even something that he actually wants help with necessarily, right? It's just to get her to go. But it's that extra thing of, no, you'll be helping me.
He's not saying it in so much as that he's saying, I want you all to help me do this. He's saying, if you'd like, if you...
It's an option.
Yeah, if you want an excuse to go here that would be helping me, this is something that...
I'd appreciate it.
I'd appreciate, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the combination of now there's two people that are basically like, come on, come on. And
she's like, okay.
It is a little bit of peer pressure.
Oh, totally.
And that is something that's good to just acknowledge in that when they go on the rides and stuff, she is still feeling that peer pressure to go on the rides with them.
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
There's points later when I think there might have even been things where Yui was noticing that Yukino is not a fan of being on the rides alone.
Oh,
And that's something we'll get into here. But Iroha has a person in mind. It's Hayama, but the way they framed this too, showing like, oh yes, she brought along Hayama. He's standing next to her, and he's got his kind of fake smile up with the eyes shut, and just like, you know. But who else is here but the next trio? And it's like, immediately the show is really brilliant at telling us what happened. She invited Hayama, and he's like, yeah, sure.
All right,
okay,
thanks.
A free ticket, totally. But do you mind if I bring my friends along with me? And she's like, yeah, sure, totally.
Right.
And then she's thinking, well, crap, I mean, okay, I can work with this, you know?
Now, what I love about this is that because we aren't actually told what happened.
Right.
There was the possibility that, who knows, Hayama might not have done that. Maybe it was actually Yumiko that was like, hey, you want to do something? He's like, no, I'm busy. I'm going to be doing this thing. Oh, well, I'll come along because, wait, you're going with this Iroha girl? But I don't want to be the one that's just coming along as a, like, defensive, get in the way kind of a thing.
So she brought along
So then she brings the
Hina
other two
and
along.
Tobe?
Now, I like your version of it more.
I feel like that requires extra steps, but
your
idea
right.
as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, I like... but the idea is that this is where all of the spider web of like weird social dynamics and interactions and stuff is, and it gets brought along to the trio that are just trying to establish their simple, basic, like, all right, let's be friends, let's interact, and all of that.
There is a bit right here. Let me re-listen to see who's talking here after the name thing is mentioned.
Oh, I couldn't just take Iroha's side.
Gotcha. Okay, so Yui is basically like, well, they're here because I need to think about everyone in the group, and that was awkward for me. So
she probably told them about it.
Well, she caved potentially and let them come along and saying it was okay. But as to who did the invite,
yeah,
it was definitely Iroha. It was definitely Iroha. Now, we see all throughout this bit here that Yukino is having a bit of a headache, kind of thing to this whole situation. Now, I do think that there's a potential in that we're misinterpreting why she's so kind of stressed out by all of this. And it's not just what she mentioned at the end of the episode with regards to her sister and past experiences here. But
it could be It could be a combination of things because there's the whole bit with her sister, which probably doesn't make it any easier. To what degree that's the main influence here, who knows? Who can say? Yeah. But this is also right after the whole bit with Hachiman and Yui, and she was the one that had was having the most sort of negative response to Hachiman, right? Mm-hmm. Because Yui was in the more of like the placating, trying, it's all going to be okay kind of a thing. So. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when Hachiman ended up saying, I want something genuine, Yukino was not ready to hear that, right?
Yeah.
So...
this was my first little instance here of where we can see that potentially Yukino is a little bit scared of going on the rides alone. Mm-hmm. And we just had a bit in the previous thing where when they went on the Universe Mountain ride, we don't show actually people going on the rides together.
Uh-huh.
But afterwards, we have people that are like Iroha trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna see if Hayama will give me a little bit of attention if I'm like, oh and then, no, that was a
nope,
bit.
Yumiko
does it, and she's like, oh, Miura.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like us finding the eyeball popped out. We're like, oh, Miura. Yeah. Okay.
Basically.
Yeah. But we see also that Yukino is experiencing the same thing. Mm-hmm. But she keeps bringing it up with the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the okay that could totally be part of it, mm-hmm. but she is not actually letting herself open up. And that could be a sign that what happened in her past with Haruno and everything was that traumatic that even like when Yui asks her about it, like, mm-hmm. Off by themselves, she still doesn't bring it up,
Now, if she did bring it up, or if Yui just determined what was going on, it makes a lot of sense in this bit here where Yukino goes and sits down on the ride first. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, but this isn't the least bit Christmassy. What's going on? And then Yui has this moment of like almost like awareness where she kind of like she has this like
right.
Oh, quick, get on.
Yeah. Yukino's trying to face her fear basically, mm-hmm. and Yui's like, okay, well we can't let her be alone for this.
Yep. And it is a panda little spot here and stuff, but.
That's right.
The fact that Yukino is like, quiet. And she's
no
like,
talking.
Yeah. So it's basically just saying that even this ride, she needs to spend all of her mental energy focusing on not showing that she's scared. Mm. And if they, talk a lot about this, then it's going to make it difficult.
It is something where I'm a little bit curious as far as some of the details because the impression that I got with the whole thing with Haruno was that it might not necessarily have been the festival area itself, but it was the rides with the roller coaster rides, right? And because it's like, okay, they're scary and she messes with her, because she's the younger sibling and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. But in the situation with the pandas, because we don't really see too much of the rides, mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if that was like the start of a roller coaster or if it was more like one of the ones where it's like you're in a roller coaster, but it's a carousel, but it's really just going through a place where you have models of things and music and whatnot, and it's more of just the visual experience.
It's possible, but it's also just one of those things where later in the episode, she doesn't make a distinction between the rides. She just says rides in general. So mm-hmm. I would say it's for the most part all of them.
But then
they're all attached to the experience from being a kid.
Yep, and when you're a kid, you probably don't separate too much of the things that go on at one of these places. It's just one giant experience. But the whole like
cute part. You want to talk about that?
Well, yes, but I feel like it kind of started earlier because the person that takes something very silly and simple super seriously, with how she's like, no talking on the ride. Uh-huh. That it's hard, I feel like, to have a character like Yukino really come across as like cutesy because she is such an ice queen so much of the time.
Yeah.
But little things like that, I believe it.
Yeah,
because
like when she shows up with 4 or 5 pandas, and she's like, I can't decide which one for Komachi.
Because she is such a serious person that even when she's doing the things that are like kiddish or silly, she's very serious about her silliness.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I loved that she gets so defensive about calling hands,
fugly. Oh.
kind of fugly, and she's like, I'm gonna.
And then Iroha steps in, and she's like, "Oh, all right."
But I think he's kind of cutie patootie, and that whole thing of trying to attach cuteness to her, and then literally right next to him, Yui starts doing the same thing.
Much better though, I might add.
Yes,
the voice impression helps a lot.
Yeah, she doesn't really get successful with this though, because initially he's getting bothered, like he's getting smothered essentially by her here.
Yep.
But then she does the "Yuki, my boy, what is it you desire?" and then he can't help but think about it, what he really wants.
That very much felt like a Freudian slip kind of a thing, because it's the touchy subject because of what happened last episode, but then also Yui really does care about that. So of course that's when she's just messing around and playing, that's the specific thing that she asks about.
Yeah. And then we have this little subtle exchange where he's like, I'm really is packed. I'm so amazed everyone felt to come this type of year, or this time of year. I never want to do this again if I can help it or something. And she goes, I want to though.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
it's like,
well, then he says, who's stopping you? Like, who?
Yeah. It's close by.
It's close by.
That's not what I mean.
Yeah. And then looks over at him, and he's like,
oh, right, that's right, because it's not that she actually cares about, the pandas and the rides and everything that much. It's who she's here with.
Yeah. And then she has her line from season 1.
I'll be the one to make the first move. Yeah.
And
Hachiman,
he gives a very, very, very interesting response. Destiny Land is awful this time of year, but I wonder what the newer park next door is like.
Like, it's such
might be quieter there, I think.
Like, he is being so like dipping his toe in the water.
Careful,
right? Careful.
He's being careful here,
right?
Yeah.
Now it's in a. I'm so glad that they that this scene was able to go on for as long as it did.
Yeah,
because I would have been so pissed if there was an interruption that happened sooner,
Well, yeah, if Yukino came in 12 seconds earlier or something.
Right, exactly.
That much of a difference would have changed everything. Yeah.
Because he knows how attentive Yui is right now to him, and how much he matters to her and everything, and and he's like, okay, this is I'm not fully comfortable with this, but okay, I'll maybe. I wonder if it'll be, better next, at another time, of the year. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that'd be fun to go. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to go. Okay.
Yeah. And then of course they get the ears on each other, and then there's the picture and stuff. But then
which one do you think Komachi will like?
You don't have to get so serious, okay? But immediately picture. And then the speed at which he was just like,
right.
Oh, my training has prepared me for this moment.
Yep.
And he's saving that photo for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
He just had his moment of oh my God, if I wasn't into at least one of them at this point, now I am.
That. There's something that this show does, and maybe this is a weird kind of tangent to bring up, but so the title of this show is my teenage romantic comedy, Snafu, right? I would not be surprised almost, even though I don't think that's what's going to happen. But as far as the characters, I think it would be fairly consistent for the characters if by the end of things, it was actually that Yui and Yukino ended up together. I know that's not going to happen probably as far as the show goes, right? Because Hachiman is going to end up with one of them probably. But the way that
or none of them.
Or potentially none of them. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
I feel like they're setting up either Yukino or Hachiman, or Hachiman and no one, actually.
Well,
it's a thing about him going through the snafu,
sure,
and coming out a better person.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. I feel like I need to mention it every chance I get, that the way that this show handles the triangle aspects of the love triangle
You're a really big fan.
I'm a really big fan of it because I'm
me
convinced
too.
that no matter what happens, the relationship between Yui and Yukino is going to be like this, right? While there will be times that it's strained, like we've seen, previously, right?
Yeah, it can very much, I would say, get strained.
Yeah, like
more, though.
and who knows? Maybe this is actually like the foreshadowing for the horrible fallout when things get more complicated and stuff. And if that's the case, it's going to break my heart, right?
Well, but what happens if Yui actually confesses and Hachiman rejects her? Hard. That's the kind of thing that is very likely. It's not just a thing of whether or not he rejects her, because I think he could actually do a pretty good job of being like, hey, I really like you too, but I can't do anything like remotely like that, and it would break her heart, but she is going to confess to him at some point.
Yes,
that's been waiting in the wings for
a
long time.
Quite frankly,
now.
She already has.
Well, he knows he's not stupid.
Yeah,
but it's the thing of whether or not she's actually going to make the first move in the overt kind of way.
Yeah, that sort of not truly ultimatum, but sort of all right, here it is, putting all the cards on the table. What's going to happen?
Yeah,
but
yeah. So we now have Hachiman and Yukino separated, and she ends up opening up about a lot of the things with her past in this place specifically.
Right.
Destiny Land as a kid, and Haruno is brought up. And this is one of those things where I really like that this is being done because in my opinion, Haruno being brought up at all is a bit of an interesting thing here, because I don't think that Yukino is being perfectly fair necessarly, or even vulnerable with Hachiman here. I think that what might be going on is a little bit of honesty, but she's being very careful.
Yeah,
with how much is leaving her in a position that she needs Hachiman's help right now. But instead, she then goes and says, hey, in the future, save me someday.
Yeah.
And I want to spend basically the rest of the discussion on this.
So before we get to that line in full, the fact that Yukino brought up Haruno, that's a big deal. Because she's basically going into, I'm going to start talking about my childhood trauma. Kind of. It's a strenuous relationship that she had with her sister that is still very much in effect to this day.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's not subtle at all.
Yeah, exactly. And yet at the same time, like you were saying, she's not being fair to Hachiman because she isn't opening up about it fully. She's using a bunch of general things and things where she's definitely externally processing, but she's not doing it in a way that Hachiman can understand because she's not giving him anchor points, really. It's just general emotional.
Totally. I was also saying that she's not being fair to Haruno.
Oh.
I think she's doing the kind of a thing a little bit where she's saying my sister is so horrible, and I was always the the best sister and stuff like that. I was obedient and stuff, and yet they called me these things behind my back. She's stating things that are true.
Right.
Very, very true. Yep. Definitely.
I don't sense any factual.
I don't sense any lies or deception, or especially not willful at all.
Right.
I think if anything, to her, this is a big step in terms of vulnerability.
But this is probably something that she's tossed and turned about for a while.
Yeah, but I can feel the immaturity with regards to how she's bringing this up. And I think it is something that is worth noting, because the things that we've seen from Haruno across multiple contexts don't paint her entirely in this light.
Also, if the whole line "save me someday," there's one big reason why I have a problem with that line. Save me someday implies that you can't save me right now.
Yeah.
Now
I don't want. Or I don't need.
Right, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Not right now, but someday.
Yeah.
Now, we had the whole bit where her family took her away and then they didn't see her for the rest of the summer vacation and whatnot.
Yeah.
That is the most literal kind of
interpretation.
Or the best interpretation that I can think of with regards to this line.
Yeah,
because
I
that's
agree.
something where she cannot actually be saved today, but it's that at some point I can tell that something with my family is going to happen.
Yep.
Can you please save me when
I'm
that
gonna get
happens?
arrested away from this really wholesome life
Exactly.
that I have with you and
Yep.
Yui and
I don't
the
want
service
that to
club.
happen. So when that happens, please save me.
Yeah.
But let's be real. The reason why her being whisked away by her family would be a problem is not actually because of the physical event of her being taken away in some car and them not being able to see her for a while.
Right, yeah,
But it's
exactly.
because of how it affects her heart,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
her relationship with them and things like that.
Definitely.
Which means that issue is not limited to when she gets taken away physically by her family,
Yep.
right? That's something that is present and accounted for all the time, right?
Totally.
And she's not willing to open up to him about that and not willing to, let him basically save her in that way.
This is her first step. So I think that with regards to that, this is really good.
Yes.
This is just one of
progress.
those things where if we look at it just as the first step, you don't necessarily draw attention to some of the ways in which she's kind of crafting a bit of the way that she's saying this, and that it's not that raw, it's not that genuine, if you will. And yet there are elements of genuine within the whole package.
Right. She's holding herself back. And like,
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
It feels like she's basically at the edge of like one of those cliffs that overlooks like a big lake or something like that, and she's wanting to jump in, right? But she's like doing a half-assed jump, and that doesn't work well. You will get hurt, and some,
you'll just land on your side and get a nice clap on the water. as
right,
it
right,
hits you,
or
yeah.
not clear the cliff. Like
Yeah, I think if anything, she's jumped enough to where she's cleared the cliff, and that Hachiman is going to receive what she's saying.
Right. But this is the beginning point, Yukino. This needs to be continued. This conversation is not over, right? Even if you did it in a nice dramatic way right before you went down on the roller coaster, maybe so that you wouldn't have to actually explain or unpack that in the moment, So
Yeah, this is an interpretation of this, but I think she is saying in no certain terms, and to use the
All right.
different way, I need your help,
all right.
because she's not good at asking for help.
Sure.
Just in the same way that her and Hachiman are different, they're actually quite similar with regards to pride.
And then, of course, she phrases it in a paladin way of "save me."
Yeah. Okay, so let's. Yep, they were pandas in the little machine claw thing, the claw. So okay, that was all the pandas and stuff. But
Then they talk about Harno in a bit more detail.
Yep, exactly. There's brought up a question by Hachiman, and I like that this is something that's, I think, finally been actually asked directly to her. Do you still want to be like your sister?
Yeah.
Because I think Haruno has commented many times that she's that
in the past, she has wanted to be
that
like
Yukino
her.
has been imitating her constantly. And in some ways, what I've been really impressed with Haruno regarding is she keeps pushing Yukino into situations where she can imitate her and then fail at it, realizing that she's not her sister. She should stop trying to imitate her. So in this case here, when Hachiman kind of asks a little bit, like a little bit sensitively, I would say, do you still want to be like your sister? And she kind of gives that like neutral negative answer of, I don't really feel that way now, but she has something that I don't. And this is something that calls back, I think, a little bit to the Komachi conversation in the beginning with regards to people worrying about identity that don't necessarily have one of their own. And I think this is what she's talking about, is that Haruno has an identity. She is very, sure of herself.
Okay, I like it.
And in a lot of ways, that's something that Hachiman does have as well.
Right.
Of all the characters in this story, in a very weird kind of way, he's mentioned many times how much he likes himself the way he is.
Sure, and since the big struggle is over him realizing the faults of the identity that he's propped up for himself, that it would make sense then that the identity, like, if that's the biggest demon that he has to face, then it makes sense that it would be one of the strongest in the story.
Yeah. And then also she brings up I simply wonder why I don't, and disappoint myself. I think this is very much something where she's like, I don't fully know who I am. And then she says about him, you have something that I don't, too.
Right.
We weren't the least bit similar, I see. And it's a little, well, duh.
Right, and this is something where it's, I really like the interpretation of it being the identity thing, you know, because coming full circle with Kamachi's conversation at the beginning and all that.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow it up because when she says, like, after the well dub it, she says, I think I wanted something a bit different, meaning something that is mine, something that is unique.
Sure.
And then she says, once I realized I couldn't do anything, I started wanting something neither you nor my sister had. And I think that's it.
I'm not sure how that would tie into the identity thing, but I like it.
Because it's unique. It needs to be her. If she's wanting to just imitate,
sure.
then it's not her identity. She's just stealing or copying or imitating some aspect of the identity of those around her.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Also, something I remember that I wanted to bring up is the whole idea that with the someday please save me. At the beginning of the ride, she mentions that she was scared about these kinds of things, right? And that she was okay when she was with Yui and him, right? And then, I think I'll be okay now. If I was okay with Yui, I think I'll be okay with you, right? Which is great as far as showcasing how she feels about him and that she really trusts him and things like that.
Yeah.
But then it also ties into the whole idea of, then later, the please save me, it's right before they get to the potential crux of where Haruno's jabs and everything before would have caused the most pain and fear, right before they take the plunge, you know.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, totally.
A confession.
And Iroha actually confesses to Hayama. She enlisted Tobei's help to get Yumiko away.
Right, so
then she could do this during the fireworks explosion. She actually does confess, so major props to Iroha for having the guts to do it.
Yep.
But she did not read the room. She did not read Hayama. She did this because maybe in some ways she's been gaining a bit more courage in general surrounding herself because of people like Hachiman who are helping her in this case here.
Yeah.
But he shuts her down. And I mean, he doesn't just reject her in the like, hey, it's going to be okay. You know, it's the, well, we don't get any words, but there's shadows over their faces. And
there's shadows over their faces.
Not talking a lot.
The lip flaps are short. So like it seemed like he was being very terse. And it's funny because Hayama is a very he's a very cordial guy. Right, like he's very like polite and nice and things like that.
Yeah, but we know kind of why he does that though.
Yeah, right.
It's a bit of a people pleaser kind of.
But there's this point where he loses patience with people, right? And it usually has to do with when he feels they're being manipulative, right?
Or fake.
Or fake. Yeah. Right.
I think it's kind of the same thing to him.
Yeah. And that's part of his big issues with Hachiman, right?
Is that Hachiman is definitely manipulative.
Hachiman is definitely manipulative. And it's also probably why he liked Hachiman so much from the beginning, because Hachiman doesn't feel like someone who's fake, right? He's definitely manipulative, and that's why, and that was what caused the conflict, right?
Right.
But he's a pretty straightforward guy at the very least, right?
Right.
As far as he's honest about what he's about, you know.
Right, but also Hachiman in his honesty is doing things in the past, or was doing things in the past, that would make him take the L for someone else.
Right.
And he, of course, couldn't stand the idea that Hachiman would do that just to make himself be, like, he has so much low self-esteem with regards to certain things, or less care about his own happiness, that he would make other people hate him so that he could help them.
Right.
And then he's like, I can't. Yeah.
Almost like he got off on it or something, right? Like where it's this is the reinforcing of my own identity that I've set up for myself.
Hachiman we're talking about.
Yeah, Hachiman.
Just in case
right.
confused.
But then, so for Hayama here, he's seen all the stuff that she's been doing to try and get his affections and things,
he's
right?
not. He's probably not. He's used to this, probably.
Yes, he's probably very used to
he's
this,
attractive.
Right? Yeah, and like Yumiko probably does the same. Or no, we've seen Yumiko do the same kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny is that the very thing that might have made it so that Iroha actually would have had a chance with him is the very thing that she wouldn't let herself do.
Yeah.
And this is where I feel like there's parallels with the main characters. Because,
Totally.
yes, Iroha definitely looks a lot like Yui in the parallels of, like, the fireworks and everything in the confession. And Yui's been wanting to, confess, like, properly for a while now, you know. But then also kind of the parallels with Yukino. Because that holding back, right? You know, that putting something else out here, right? So you don't have to deal with the stuff inside that you're not sure about, that you don't know if people will necessarily like, right? And Iroha here, if she had let her the nasty side of her personality be fully on display for Hayama, because he sees it, right? Like, he sees it, but she's not honest with him about it.
Right.
Then
It's not genuine.
It's not genuine.
Yep.
Then maybe he would have been like, sure, let's hang out. You know, he might not have been head over heels for her or anything like that.
No, probably not immediately.
But she would have had a chance of something happening.
I really do
possibly.
think, though, that is something that could happen in the future. If the whole story is not about just one or three of these characters growing, it's about kind of all of them growing a little bit by making these mistakes. And they have to have that cold, wet kind of like splash in the ice water where they're like,
right.
Well, the consequences
Shock
of
back
my
to the
actions.
senses.
Yeah, exactly. This could be a good one for Iroha to develop.
Yes. And I'm curious to see how she develops, because so far, she hasn't really been developing, I feel like. She's been
Hachiman.
Well, hold on.
Hachiman has done a lot.
She's been being introduced more to the audience, and then she's been getting better perspective of specifically Hachiman for the most part. But her Iroha, the person, hasn't really changed. Just the way that she interacts with some people has changed because...
Yeah, it's not black and white. It's not black and white.
Not black and white. Yeah.
There are ways in which she has changed, and I would say primarily it is the Hachiman interactions and stuff, in that she has gotten very comfortable being around him.
Okay, yes, that's
Remember,
true.
she was a bit, like...
Yeah, she's been getting practice with Hachiman as a result of him being the loser, right? Actually being herself, which might be what she needs in order to actually get close to Hayama. But also, it's been that thing of maybe by doing that, she started to get close to Hachiman.
Well, okay. I think it's a little bit simpler than that.
All right,
I think
go
she
for it.
just got the confidence to finally do this.
Oh.
Like...
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Right. Because she's so used to being fake and vapid that she wouldn't actually... Like, she actually confessed to Hayama. That's a big deal.
Yes, that's a huge deal.
That is a huge deal. Like, you go, girl, right?
Like she saw the opportunity with the ticket and was like, oh,
I'm going to do it. Yep.
That was when she decided.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's something that Iroha, of when we were introduced to her, I don't think she could have done that. No.
That's okay. All right. So that is a great point.
I think that for a lot of these characters, they're all extremely insecure. That's probably the one thing that unites all of them. Is that very few people in this show are secure in their identity. Even Hiratsuka, who is very much the wise, kind of somewhat jaded older mentor figure, is definitely insecure.
Even dare I say, even Haruno almost. Like,
I thought you were going to say Komachi.
Komachi is a...
Let's not, be stupid here. Komachi is probably the most secure of anyone in the story.
and it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, hopefully we don't get an arc where that gets shattered by her.
Protect.
Because, but even with like Haruno, for instance, where she seems to maybe have some places where she's not fully sure. Maybe with regards to her sister, of like, okay, I'm doing the things that I think will help. But at the same time,
sure about that.
I spend a lot of time with Hachiman.
Yeah.
checking up on my sister?
True.
Because when it comes right down to it, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But of course, no one else will see that side of her.
Because she does care about Yukino. It's definitely apparent there. But we just had confession, rejection, and in the beginning of this season, we had another confession moment of sorts.
That's true.
So I just want to say that if this is kind of what season 2's bigger conflicts will revolve around, then we might be getting a confession in the finale or somewhere near the finale of season 2.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to say confession and rejection, and I'm like, no.
Nope. I don't know what the response will be, but there has to be.
And it's probably going to be Yui.
It's probably going to be Yui. The fact that she probably came this close here to having a bit of a moment where she even like what did she do?
Oh yeah, she
grab his arm or something?
Yeah, she grabbed his arm and whispered in his ear like, "Oh, it brings back memories, huh?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he kind of had this moment of like, oh.
And the way that like he zeroed in on Iroha and Hayama in the crowd, like from very far away, goes to show that one, Iroha, you did your homework to be as far away as possible so that Kumiko couldn't mess things up. But two,
everyone is going to notice this too.
Well, I mean, yes, but also Hachiman knows what's up. He made the association. There was no reason for him in particular to look at Iroha and Hayama in that moment. They were really, really dang far away, right?
And in the midst of a crowd.
But because he's like,
this is one of those situations.
This is one of those situations.
Could have done it right there, but she didn't.
So then he looks at the two people in this crowd full of people that are also in a similar situation,
and he's like, oh shit.
Okay. and then he also then sees the aftermath. Now, so Hachiman,
he's been a bit protective of Iroha. He's been a bit, kind of being the older brother to her.
Hachiman?
Hachiman has.
Yes. But I want to bring up a theory. So,
oh boy.
Up till now, Hachiman's biggest obstacle has been that he is he doesn't want to get hurt, right? Yeah. And as a result of that, he doesn't allow for there to be real connection.
Okay.
There's a second side of things that is the cost that needs to be paid in order to have genuine relationships with people.
Oh.
The first is to be okay with being hurt.
Yes.
The second is to be okay with hurting them.
Yes.
And that is something that I'm not sure if Hachiman is at yet. With regards to
I don't think
anyone really, but
I don't think any of the three of them are yet.
No,
that's the point of when Yukino was like, "Oh wait, I didn't mean to push you away, Yui."
Yeah, and when I say okay with hurting the other person, I don't mean in like a callous way. I mean in basically being able to be real enough with the person, to be a flawed human, and to know that if you step on their toes a little bit, they're gonna be fine, right? They're not made of glass, right? Like they can take it. Yep. They can take it, right?
Yep.
So, as he's realizing that Yui is getting close to this vulnerable emotional place, right? He's like, hold on, and I know I'm getting better at being okay with it myself because I trust her, but at the same time, oh God, and then I'm let me just stare at the example of the person who looks very similar to Yui, who makes the confession and then runs away sobbing.
Oh God, he's like, oh God. I think that's also that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's also that fear of him being like, if she were to confess to me,
because I've heard her already. I've heard her already by not being ready to accept her feelings and things like that, and putting all sorts of like filters and everything over what she does. I don't know if this is just the beginning. I haven't necessarily changed yet. That's a rut that's deep. I could fall back into that at any time, right? Yep. All sorts of things.
And he navigated around it, I think, like 2 or 3 times this episode, just being like, oh, there's that thing I used to do before.
Exactly. And then on top of that, that's before you even get to the question of, is he comfortable enough with himself and honest enough with himself that he could actually let himself potentially really love someone romantically? Right? Because
hurt them by rejecting them.
Exactly. Right. Because he's just now getting onto the point where he's like, okay, maybe I can have genuine friendships, right?
Yeah, and that's what he was talking about with the park and everything.
Right, right. And it's
we can do this again.
Yeah.
I really like spending time with you guys.
Exactly. But now he's seeing the potential ways that it could go badly, regardless of even if he does everything as best as he can. So
Because you can't control people, Hachiman. You
Right.
can't fully understand them. You can't see everything.
And if it's any help, any consolation, I get the feeling Hayama was super cold to Iroha there. So don't worry, results may vary.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I really love Hayama's character stuff that we've had like before this. So seeing this happen.
Oh yeah,
and it
I'm
being
curious.
So like just
Matter
all
of
of a
fact.
sudden. Well, no, like just the idea that it went. Like the build up for it and it happening was all within the same episode. In that Iroha kind of had the aha moment, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like my
we've known
immediate-
that she had the hots for Hayama for a long time.
for a while,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things where I was like, I don't think that's gonna work though, Iroha, because one, it's a thing where it's too spur of the moment. I don't see the two of you interacting just casually yet.
You're banking on your cuteness as to be the thing that will sway him when a bunch of people have crushed on him before, not actually any kind of, well, dare I say, genuine connection.
Yeah, and we even know in some ways because of Haruno's comment from back at the restaurant, the fast food place or whatever that was, that there's some extra stuff that's gone on in the past.
Sure.
That
Hayama
needs to grow a little bit with regards to this whole thing
possible,
as well.
yeah.
And I'm very excited about a Hayama potentially focused kind of maybe development. If this is maybe his kind of bringing it up to the surface, like it's something where maybe people jump on Iroha's side a little bit and go, "Oh, you hurt her so much with regards to this.
Like,
how could you? You know?" But
we didn't see how you handled it, but that seemed a bit cold.
Yeah, exactly. So I want Hachiman and Hayama to be brought back together in some ways because of something like this.
Yeah, their interactions are pretty much always really good, even if they go in negative directions. You know, like even
they
if
don't build the friendship necessarily.
Right, but whether it's a friendship like a scene basically, or like an antagonistic scene or whatever,
like a confrontational kind of
right
thing,
right
yeah.
they're always super interesting.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
This was a long discussion, but thank you all so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. This show just brings a lot out of us in it. So if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. So you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.